Happy Sunday, legends. Welcome to another episode of Harder to Kill with myself and Coach Mick Stewart. How are you, man?
Mate, can't complain. It's a Sunday. I always do enjoy a good Sunday.
Can't complain. No complaints here. No complaints. What have you got up to this weekend?
Nothing much. Just kept it very low key. Did some reading and just working on a few new programs and stuff.
Perfect, man. What are you reading at the moment?
Where is it? I'm currently finishing off Anatomy Trains.
Oh yeah, my fast
And
Meridians. That'd be interesting.
yeah,
I might borrow that off you. That would be
happy to.
interesting stuff. That's the type of shit where you can, like, when somebody's got, like plantar fascia pain, and you can release their hip flexors and it gets rid of their fucking plantar fascia pain. Like, I'm
Yep.
as I deep dive into that stuff, it's interesting.
Well, being a massage therapist and all, it really helps me when I'm actually do face-to-face stuff with people, and I'm like, oh, this is why you're having trouble, and quick release.
Yeah.
A little bit of pain in there, done. So yeah, I really like it.
Yeah, it's how you can, like, release get somebody on a ball with their feet and get rid of their fucking tension headache. It's super interesting. Tashy's here live. Scotty's here as well. How's everyone? Let us know if you are watching with a hashtag live. Give us a hashtag replay if you are watching a replay later. And we're talking about adapting goals today. So on today's episode, 2020 was a pretty good example of how you can have plans in place, and sometimes it all goes to fucking shit. And sometimes you have a level of control over it going all to shit, and sometimes you just fucking don't. You're just a bystander watching things happen. So today, the point of the episode is talking about how to navigate those waters when you're thrown off course. Sometimes you do have to, recalculate your goals. Dom's here live, giving me support from the lounge room. Mickey's here as well. Hello, big fella. I've got to contact you about some Navy diver Speedos, but I'll message you off there. We'll keep our Speedo talk away from Harder to Kill. First things first, guys, I just wanted to make a quick Taipan announcement. We have gone a little bit quiet with Taipan over the last few weeks. It's come to our, awareness that we've got a conflict with Taipan with somebody else in the industry. So while we sort our way through this conflict, while we work out exactly what we're gonna do and how we're gonna handle it, we have suspended all Taipan ticket sales. The event has been postponed at this point, and we've just fully refunded everyone who has bought a ticket so far. So we definitely appreciate all the support that we did get with Taipan up to this point, and many of you were messaging me after some tickets over the last week or two and weren't able to buy any because I had suspended the ticket sales. But we just wanted to try and work out exactly what was going on before we said anything, and we will keep you guys in the loop if and when we get it back underway. But yeah, today's episode. Do you want to kick us off, Mick?
Sure thing, right? Well, yeah, so basically reinforcing our goals, because as you can see, 2021 is already having some interesting changes. I mean, my favorite post was like, I've been enjoying that was a good 7 days. Let's go to 2022.
Yeah.
And I remember talking a lot with my clients and stuff like that about the changes. People had goals set, people had events they wanted to do. So I want to talk about going into the goals of like why you set those goals when it comes to an event. What are you looking to get out of them? And we can create things that if an event does get postponed or canceled or something, you know why you want to do it and you can still move forward. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess it's very relevant to both of us, Mick, because we're both coaches that are sort of in the event space. All of my clients are doing some form of event. I don't know if that's the case with you, but I know most of your clients are sort of involved in OCR that I know of. So, and we've spoken before about goals and how goals, events are a really good structure for a goal because they're time bound, they're specific, they're fucking relevant, there's a deadline, so it's coming quickly. There's this sense of urgency. You've got skin in the game. You've paid for it. It's social. There's other people that you're doing it with. You put it on your social media, committing to it. So from like a goal construct standpoint, events are about as good as it gets. So much so that if I do get a client that comes along and says, hey, I've been following you for a while. I like the shit that you're putting down. Not so keen about the Spartan stuff, but can you train me anyway? I'm like, yes, come this way, my child. And often if that's the case, I will try to talk them into some sort of event. Like what's something that we can aim for? What's some goalposts that we can kick towards? Because that's going to keep you so much more on track. Like we're both coaches, we both understand the importance of goal planning, and we've both seen, in 2020 when all the events all of a sudden got cancelled, my whole flock lost their fucking minds overnight, and I was like, in fucking damage control trying to contact them all, going, look, you still need to fucking train. Like it doesn't mean we just get on the lounge and eat chips and fucking watch Netflix. Like there's still shit to train for. We just have to refocus, right? And that's, I guess, what this talk is about today. How did you handle it, Mick, with your clients in 2020?
Well, I'm lucky. I do have a few OCR clients, but actually a lot of my clients are into the running space of learning how to run better and just. So with that, we actually set markers of like, okay, well, you were going to do an event, and I actually did this with some OCR crew. Like I think it was the Ultrans that was supposed to be in Gold Coast in September. Had a few clients set up for that one. So I said, okay, you guys are going to do an ultra. Fine. I'm going to program you an ultra. You're going to do it. And I literally set all my clients out that were doing that on the September weekend that they would have been at the Gold Coast. I just gave them a brutal ultra bullshit 24-hour, anywhere from a 6 to 24-hour workout. They got to choose how long they stuck with it. Some did a few hours. Some went all 24 hours and killed it. And so that's one thing I did for them, because that's what I normally do for myself is I've got an event I'm aiming for. And for me, I pull an event apart. So I like to think why I want to do it. What's the feeling I think I'm going to get crossing that line? Why? And then I try to build a scenario I can do in my general location. Well,
so you're talking about if the event itself is cancelled, you'll run a virtual event. You'll simulate that event, as close to it as you can get, and still go through the motions of that. Just turn it into a personal workout.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you find, like, say you've got numbers, say 10 clients, and they're all training for a Spartan Ultra, and you say, all right, we're still gonna, we're still training, we're still got those goalposts, but we're gonna run that virtual Ultra. Did you find that they all ran it? Was there an uptake there?
Yeah, actually, all of them did it that were going to. And then a couple, I threw it out to a few other clients that are just general training themselves, and a couple of them jumped on as well for some funsies. We used our own little, using social medias and stuff. They got to message each other and keep each other sort of accountable. But for me, it was a lot of building them like, here's your chance to. I used it as a way of leveling up. I love video game terminology. As like, now the event's been gone, this is your chance to level up that mindset. So when the event is on, it's so much easier.
Yep.
And they really loved it. Got to see it different ways, and a few interesting messages, of course, as they were doing it.
Definitely. And for anyone who is watching, I'm sure this is something that you can all relate to. I don't know anyone who didn't have something planned in 2020 that, their plans weren't snatched away from them. Let us know your experience in the last 12 months. How has this, exact scenario affected you? Let us know, and I'd be interested to hear people come back. Jeff's here live. Dora's saying live Speedos replay. Who is wearing? Anyone who wants to wear Speedos can wear Speedos. Matty Day's here live. Jenny Selmore's here as well. And Dora, that's scary. Come this way, my child. That's how I started. Yes. Yes. I'm scary sometimes. So, and Dora's just said, had planned to go back and see my family in Ireland. And, that's been one of the difficult parts of 2020, having these plans, and especially social plans that have been taken away. I know I had my grandmother's 80th last weekend before, last weekend. And, it had been planned for like 18 months, and all the grandkids and cousins and everyone were flying in from fucking everywhere. And the night before the event, it got nominated as a hotspot. So there was I think 20 people turned up, which was a fraction of the people. So, and we've seen that all over the place. People not being able to go to weddings, people having to cancel weddings, people not being able to go to funerals. That's been a really tough one. So, having these, I guess, these expectations that are snatched away is always difficult to deal with. I guess, Dora, like that situation, it's definitely, something that's happened through COVID, but we're sort of talking more around, say, the OCR or like a fitness goal or like a goal that you had. So not a plan that you had that you couldn't do. Although you maybe did like a virtual Zoom call with your parents instead. But like what's, say, something fitness-wise that you had planned that got snatched away, and how did you adapt to that? Or did you? And Jen's come back and said, I was booked in for the Spartan Morzine trifecta. Happily, Mick got me over that and distracted me with overtraining, training for when something comes up in the future. So yeah, that's the power of coaching. So Mick, before we jumped on, you were talking to me about extrinsic, intrinsic goals and trying to get people to jump that barrier. Do you want to give me a rundown what you're talking about for anyone who doesn't understand the terms?
So basically, extrinsic and intrinsic goals. Extrinsic is the event. Let's take a Spartan event. You're running, you get to see people, as you said, all those things you said. You've got the community when you get to see people. You've got the travel. You have the shirt you get at the end. You get the medal, all that sort of stuff. Those are all the intrinsic. Those are the extrinsic goals. Those are the things that you can drive you, sort of make it more fun to do these sort of things because they're motivated by something external. But internally,
finish your shirts,
you
medals.
doing that, internally, you doing that 21K, that 10K, that 5, that all of them over the weekend, you being able to do those and have the ability to do that course, that is your intrinsic. That's your motivation, you making you want to do it. Now, the difference about it is, and it's actually something I started doing, is I stopped getting myself medals when I'd race these events.
You stopped getting medals? Like you just stopped getting them at the finish line, or?
Didn't bother with them. I did give the shirts a bit of a go, but unfortunately they're not big enough for me anymore, so I just stick to the Hurricane Heat ones. They're at least big enough shirts, but otherwise, yes. I stopped getting medals because they never were the motivator for me. I noticed that because I never put them up on display. I got a big drawer full of this hardware, and it's like, that's it. Ultra buckles I keep because they are awesome. The designs in them are always crazy. But basically, I stopped getting medals, and that's when I started looking at events and like, okay, why do I want to do this? what do I feel when I get over it? And that's what people, when you go for these events, what I tell people, when you analyze them of what you want to do it, then you start finding that intrinsic stuff before you even receive that hardware. And that's where your goals now become pretty hard to not do. Like, and this the best thing that started this me on this path was when I did that 24-hour challenge.
Yeah.
Over for one. There was nothing in it for me. The money all went to the charity I was doing it for. There was no guaranteed celebratory. I didn't even know if anyone was going to be there when I finished. And even if I was going to finish, it was literally something I said, I'm going to do this and see, and figured, hell, why not? Let's do it for a fundraiser. And everyone else. Ever since then, it's now I look at it as like, okay, if I'm going to do this, why do I want to do it? And that, take enduro. I love the idea of doing something. The enduro is awesome. I've never done it. I'm looking forward to being down there and giving it a good cracking. But I've also already set myself up one destructive course, because to me, I just like the idea of being out 24 hours doing some laps and seeing. Hell, if enduro's not on, I'm going to see how long. I'll probably do something similar and keep going until I literally quit. Could be 36 hours or something instead. So to me, it's about pushing the mental, and I don't need an event for that.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it harder now to stop me doing stuff, because those are my drives.
Yeah.
And this is what I mean about taking my goals from external to internal.
Yeah, and it's a big thing, because that's one of the things. So we've got pitting for a lot of guys with enduro. I've probably got, I don't know, 10 or 15 people who are on an enduro plan with us, training specifically for the event. And one of the things that we're going to send out 4 weeks out is a document that's literally going to say, it's going to have like a race plan. So people are going to have to submit their race plan back to us, so that we know from a pitting perspective, what's your nutrition strategy, what's your hydration strategy, do you have a basic lap strategy? But also on this plan is going to be, what's your why? Like, what's your fucking reason for being there? Why do you give a fuck about this? Why do you care? Because at like 4 a.m, why you are doing this, why you are putting your body through this shit, is going to be fucking important. That's going to be the difference between you staying out on course or getting in a nice warm sleeping bag. And it's a big thing. And I think when you find somebody whose why is especially powerful, they're the people who are just fucking unstoppable. They're unbreakable. And you find this in business, you find this in athletes, you find this in all walks of life. The people who are studying for certain things, they'll just put in the work, they'll put in the time. They're not stopped by setbacks. And I can tell you, man, you're going to be out on course the whole enduro, because Dominique is pitting for you, Mick, and she just won't take your shit. Hey. You'd be like, stop, I need to rest, my feet are bleeding. She'd be like, get the fuck back out there. Like, she doesn't fuck around, man.
Yeah.
Like, no, she's good. She's exactly what you need when you're like 18 hours in. You're like, fuck, I think I'm done. She's like, get out there, princess, come on. She tells me what I need to hear. And I'm like, I think I broke my leg. She's like, no, you're fine. Just go. You've got another lap. She's like, you'll be fine. Just keep running. So you're going to have no excuses. You still there, Mick? It's just cut out. There you are. We're there? Yeah?
Hang on.
Hi.
There we go. We're back.
All right. He's back.
Hello.
Dora's just saying Gold Coast Marathon got into OCR instead, so a bit of substitution of goals happening there. Scotty's saying I have my first 24K trail run planned 2 weeks before NZ went into lockdown. Sent me into a tailspin. Then Spartan Auckland was postponed, was doing the combo. What a mindfuck. Suddenly I appeared to have no destination, no reason to train. And yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about, man. If your goals, like as much as events are a perfect goal structure, when they're snatched away, if you don't have that internal reason why you are training, if it's just purely a set event or a set thing, when those goalposts are taken away, all of a sudden you're not going to kick at all. So that's what we're sort of talking about today. Dave Burgess here, live but late. Candace is saying all the Spartan races being cancelled crushed my soul, but opened me up looking at other sports and smaller events, virtual Zoom fitness, Facebook groups, all kept me going. So it's interesting, Mick, you were saying about the medals, because I was the same, man. I had all my medals were just in a fucking shoebox. None of them were on display until I started doing a lot more live stuff, and I'm like, all right, I need some shit behind me that's not just a wall. Let's make this a little bit more interesting. But yeah, all of my medals were just in a shoebox, and I've never been driven by the medals or the t-shirts. But a lot of people are, and I think that's the logical starting place. You see it in Spartan. Like at first, people are like fully driven by the shirts and the medals and the posts on social media. But I think the real magic happens in this sport when it's not about that shit anymore. It's about how can I be a more resilient person? How can I grow as a person? How can I keep getting out of my comfort zone and pushing further and further and developing myself and becoming more mentally tough? How do you take clients on that journey?
Well, basically, so what I like to do is, to me, I always want to find out their why, as you do. You always want to find out the why, what they're doing it for. And then I pull apart. I like to strip it down to, I automatically throw out the scenario of, okay, what is it that's canceled? Do you still want to run this? And that, if they say no, then we find out why they changed just by one cancelled event. And usually it's because and that's where we start diving deeper into the goals of like personal stuff. Because I'm a big believer, unfortunately, I'm a personal believer that you've got to get that big personal level. And a lot of times it can come back to something we grew up with, or there's something that really motivates us, but this is like the goal we're aiming for, but really there's something over here we're too scared to actually say we really want. And yeah, so I'm a big believer that like my fitness journey myself, losing weight was all because I wanted to marry my wife, and I was a 150 kilo tubs, and I didn't think I deserved it. So to me, I've always had an intrinsic goal. I've found that the only way to motivate, but I found events are cool to help me train for something. But all my greatest goals came from when I was just driven mentally.
Yeah.
And something personal.
Yeah. I think it's important that you mentioned that from a saying you were a certain weight and you wanted to lose the weight, because this is a really, like, events aside, this is a really important tipping point where I think a lot of people come unstuck, in that quite a few people that I know tend to roller coaster. They will get fit, they'll lose the weight, they'll get down to where they sort of want to be, then they'll get a little bit more comfortable, they'll go back up in the top paddock, and they'll put it back on gradually, and the cycle fucking continues until they get to the point where they look in the mirror and go, fuck, I've got to do something about this, and we're back to square one. And I think there's this point here where you are driven by this fat loss goal, which is, yeah, but look, I would say a slightly more shallow goal than say a performance goal. Usually it's an aesthetic thing, but not always. That's probably a bit of an unfair generalization. People want to lose weight for all sorts of reasons, but I guess where people, or where I see people trip up, is after they lose that weight, transferring that to a different goal, because it's going to be a very different goal. It can't be fat loss because that's now been achieved. So how do you over the course of clients that I've had over the years, especially those that have had crazy weight loss, what we do is really, really focus on taking them from that weight loss into events, so that it now becomes the performance, and it becomes the quality of life, the energy that you have, the productivity that you can get, the longevity, the health. You start to create a shift of goals so that you're going towards the lifestyle that you want to live as opposed to the way you want to look. And I guess that's the point I was trying to make about it being a shallow goal. Like I think when I look at the fat loss as a goal, is often it's driven by the way people want to look, or they're not happy with the way they look. So they either want to go towards something they think is good, or they want to go away from something that they see as painful. So how have you had a much experience, with clients? Have you had any big like fat loss clients, Mick, over the years?
Not as big as mine. I've still,
Yeah.
no one's as crazy as me. But I've had a couple of fat loss, but generally, yeah, as you said, as fat loss being a bit of a shallow thing, I always like to put the idea of, okay, well, what is it? Because fat loss, again, is something that just only comes from the scales. You have a number of, so that's where I do the whole, okay, well, what's that number? What do you see yourself doing? And that's where I start getting the idea of, okay, we're going to aim for this, but let's start looking towards, again, the performance side of things. Because you do get, and I do know this one personally, I was lucky enough that I sort of fell into the performance side because going down my fat loss journey, I was doing it in my garage, which was like an open carport. And I got to have the fun of doing it with chains and like a barbell with chains and paint tins and stuff like that. Real like Rocky and Russia sort of stuff. Remember it being -4 at one point, and I'm still blowing smoke while I'm doing it. Still the best times of my life, actually. But
you found a love for it.
because I was an animation and games geek, a lot of those animes and stuff really influenced. Like I love those training montages of animations and them just getting ridiculously strong and that, of course, like Dragon Ball Z or some shit. So yeah, and I just said, fuck it, that's how I want to do it. I just want to do stuff like that. I want to and that started getting me to performance. And then I got to a whole point of just people say, hey, have you done this? No? Okay, let's give it a go. Let's do a 21K run. First time doing a run, let's go for 21K half marathon. It's my first running event. Let's go up to a full marathon, or let's do Spartans. Someone says, try Spartan. Okay, let's do that. And then, that's how I just got it. And it's even our goal with the whole Ironman. I'm just let's do an Ironman.
At what point?
I want to be able to physically.
This wasn't intended to be an interview, but I think it's I think you've got a good story to tell, because you lost a lot of weight and you've now turned into a fucking performance coach. Like you've literally gone on the exact journey that we're trying to tell people. So I think like telling your story about it is probably going to be relevant and helpful. At what point did you, like, if you're up around the 150 mark, at what point did you say, fuck it, I've got to sort this shit out?
Well, it's actually, the way I did it was, as I said, I wanted to, my wife now, she was my girlfriend at the time, I wanted to marry her, had a ring and all that. And she was going through a bit of a discovery for herself, so we had to have a little bit of a separation period where she moved away. And she's a beautiful person inside and out, 100% gorgeous all over. And to me, it was like, she's now out there staying at a friend's place. She can go out and party and actually live her life. What's the reason what's the reason it's going to get her to come back to me? Like, because I really wanted to be with this person. We were still hanging out, still being friends, but we just weren't together anymore. And to me, that was a moving out, was a step back. So that was to my, like, look, I got down to the boxes, and just took a look at myself, and I'm going, well, first look at you. Why would they want to come back to this? You're lazy, you're overweight, you don't do shit. So, and this is where it gets funny, because I did the first thing I hated. I started running. And that was, to me, the very next day was like, you've got to make a change, or you are not going to see this woman again. So started running up a hill very next day. From there, it just got to the point of, I was so driven by that goal that I just switched it and just was anything I could push myself. And again, having the animation as an understanding, I just wanted to build that work capacity so hard, which at the time I didn't know it was work capacity. It was just to me clanging and banging, just doing shit.
Something to go into beast
And
mode.
yeah.
I think the important thing here is you had a really, really fucking powerful why. And you'd know from the perspective of coach, like if you get somebody come to you and they're like, got to get into a bridesmaid's dress, or they've got to get into a bride's dress, or a groom who wants to trim down for a wedding, or if you've got somebody who comes from the doctor and they're like, I've just been told that I've got diabetes, and if I don't lose weight, I'm fucking dead in 2 years. And they're like 45. I've had a couple of clients like that over the years. These people train like fucking nothing you've ever seen. Like they'll train until they spew every session. Like it's crazy. Like once you find somebody who's so driven by a powerful why, they become unstoppable. What's the time frame on this? When did you start this fitness journey?
So this started back in 2011.
How long did it take you to drop what I imagine was probably 40 or 50 kilos?
I got down to 94 kilos.
94, wow. So what's that, 56? That's
Yeah.
fucking crazy. How long did that take you?
6 months.
Wow. Fuck, what's that, 2 kilos a week? That's fucking
there was at one point I actually had to train myself back up to be able to do what I did then. Because see, my training program, because it wasn't a program, it was like reading Men's Health, taking things, putting it together, playing with it, was some severe Rocky Russia's fuck you mental stuff. So one of my days, I remember clearly, I would get up at 4, I would go into my carport and I'd train for 2 hours hitting the weights, because at that time I didn't know about supersetting. Once I did supersetting, it was an hour of just constantly moving, bashing weights. I was working at Dan Murphy's at the time as a beer taster. I packed my bag because it was a guaranteed storm that night. I was like, okay, we're going to run home. So I took the bus, which was about a 5K trip to the work. And in my bag, I had a 30-kilo weight vest ready to go. While I was working at Dan Murphy's, because I was on the floor as well and I got to carry boxes, I used to do the whole, okay, how quickly can you unload this pallet? And I'd be taking like big 30 cans and I'd be doing movement, and then I'd try and beat it the next time and beat it faster and faster. Yeah. To the point, people are like, what's the rush? I'm like, I'm doing it because I want it. I've got my goals of this is how I can use my fitness. Mm-hmm. Then I came, and this is one thing I remember made it very different from any other time, was it was a severe thunderstorm. We're talking half the street was out, thunder's cracking, I'm seeing lightning hit a few trees as I'm running home in it. In my vest, pack on, all that sort of stuff. That would be my Monday to Friday.
Wow.
I went full hard. Like I would not train anyone like I trained myself, especially then.
Yeah. That's pretty fucking amazing, and a couple of people say an amazing story. Scotty saying I can relate, used to be 132, now 90, already had a wife, nice. But the catalyst was to live, survive. So 6 months, 56 kilos. That's fucking savage. Like that's savage weight loss, and I think I can usually get clients to around 1 kilo a week. That's pretty sustainable. 2 kilos a week is doable, but fuck, for 6 months, that's fucking crazy. Like that's this crazy discipline, determination. At what point did you start to think you were enough?
I did at one point when I first became a trainer, but that was because of the environment I was in.
I mean with the weight loss. So like you wanted to lose the weight to marry your wife. Is that the question you're answering? Well, Breaking up here. You
That's
back?
what I mean. I did. We'll get there. Yeah. I'll see
We
you.
back?
Yeah. So that I actually didn't think. All right.
We good?
We back? Cool.
We're back.
I
think
we're
Dom
good.
is downloading porn in the fucking lounge
Yeah.
room.
So I actually. Bloody dumb. Yeah.
Fucking
No, that's
dumb.
the thing. So I didn't actually think it was enough, like, for what my wife was, because I never made that you've reached the point. It sort of just flipped over to, well, I'm now going to be a trainer, so let's learn more about this. I never had that. Like, I still don't have that at the moment. I still don't think it's enough of what I'm doing. And that's my drive thing. The only time I did think I was enough was when I first became a PT, and then I was in a nice little PT studio. And these guys were all strength-based guys, typical. They thought everything I was doing endurance-wise was just crazy. So I got very slack then, thinking, oh, yeah, I've done enough. But then when I got out of that environment, got into some Spartan and stuff, and then, yeah, that was the last time I've ever thought I was enough. And even now, I still don't actually have my, it's enough. Because if I settle, it's a funny thing, like, as I've been saying, I'm big anime, big movies, quotes, and stuff like that. I remember watching Scrubs. Do you remember the show Scrubs?
Yeah.
Did you ever see
Zach
that?
Braff.
Yeah. Yep. Well, one of the things Dr. Cox always said when him and Turk was training was, once you're happy with your body, it's won. You've lost. And I've always thought that. I'm like, yes, sweet. I don't want to be happy. I don't want to settle because, and I've maintained, like, I've even set myself a 99-year goal.
Cool. I agree that it never ends. And part of our job as coaches is to continue to help clients find new goalposts. Because as soon as you become complacent, as soon as you think you're done and you stop, you've undo everything you've achieved. But at some point, your goals have shifted focus, I imagine. Like it's gone from weight loss to what do whatever your goals are now, which I assume is longevity, seeing what your body can accomplish, what you can get out of yourself, how quick you can get your brain to work. I don't know. That's me guessing at your goals because I know you, but I've never really asked you. What are your goals now?
Basically, those I want to try and see how much I can achieve before my 99th birthday.
That's cool. It's cool. How do you remember
like this year? It's going to be a
Sorry, you go.
Yeah, like this year, one of the goals is I want to do something. As I said, we've got the Ironman coming up, and then 12 weeks after the Ironman, I'm going to go in a strongman comp.
Fuck yeah!
I want
to say 12 weeks.
Two different aspects. 12 weeks.
Cool. They're like so fucking polar opposite from discipline.
Exactly. That's my thing.
Oh fuck!
I want to see how far I can push it.
I did a swim yesterday, man. I did 1.2 Ks. So the training's come along, but I'm gonna write a blog about that swim. I got a little bit nervous in the fucking water, man. Like I could see shadows of the goggles. Like I'm like 250 meters offshore, just swimming on my own. And I was starting to get nervous. I was starting to get a bit anxious in the water, like I was going to get eaten by a fucking shark. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? This is weird. I've never felt this before. But enough about that. At what point? I guess I said before. At what point did you think you were enough? At what point did the goals shift? At what point did you go, okay, I've achieved what I want to achieve with weight loss? Like, I assume that happened at some point.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about that. Like,
so the first thing, the first step from weight loss that went to running was my half marathon. Wanting to do a half marathon. That's when I first started making a change of, I'm not worried about my weight. I want to start looking at performance. Because again, as I said, which is sort of funny considering I'm known for being a very geek on running, was I hated running. So I was like, let's do a half marathon. 10 doesn't seem long enough. 21 seems like a good amount of suck. Let's do it. You hate running. Let's give it a go. Yeah, then after that, got into a bit of strength because I was in the gym, with the guys. And it was actually there where I made the change of the next goal shifted into making everything more accessible, knowledge of mobility and everything and stuff like that. And then, yeah, as I go on through this geek road, that's sort of now what drives my training. I love to research stuff, I learn stuff, and then I like to try and see how much of it I can prove wrong because of old studies and stuff.
Yeah. So it comes from like a curiosity and then you testing stuff on yourself, basically. Your sample size of one.
Yeah.
Sharon Wateen's here. Doris watching Porn with Dom. And Natasha's saying it's never enough. Did you notice like a drop in any motivation in between, you know, the fat loss turning into the performance goals? Like that's what I'm really interested in, that transition. You know, was that a conscious thing, or were you just like, I'm the fucking fitness guy now? Like, did your identity just change?
Basically, I didn't actually. It was funny. So when I first transition, it sort of just melded into let's do a half marathon. I wasn't really noticed as a fitness guy until I went back to a friend's place and saw an old photo of me at his wedding. And then it was like, holy shit, that's a lot of work I've done.
Yeah. That's a fucking lot of work, man. You lost more than what Dominica weighs. That's
it's more than what life weighs.
It's a fucking lot.
Yeah.
It's a fucking lot.
As I said, like, it's really hard. I don't actually know when that big change happened for those where I went from the weight loss to the thing, because I sort of just fell in love with the hard work. That's what really as I said, I still remember the best times being out there when it's breathing smoke and it's cold as shit, and then I'm barely wearing anything and just pissing off the neighbors.
Yeah, I feel you, man. Like there's nothing quite like competency. Once you get like a level of mastery and you can start to hit that beast mode and you get into a really good block of training and you're just really consistent, all of a sudden you just fucking love it. But if you like take some time off and you've got to sort of start that momentum from scratch, there's that bit of shit at the start where you're like, fuck my life, this is terrible. It sounds like what happened is you did change your identity. You know, you changed your values, you changed the things you cared about. And I guess that's the full circle that we need clients to make when they're going from extrinsic to intrinsic. I think when you start on a fitness journey, you have extrinsic goals. You sign up for a gym because you've gotten too fat, or you don't think your partner finds you attractive anymore, or you've just become single again and you need to be attractive again because you've let yourself go for a little while. But I think when you're in that extrinsic zone and you're like, you're focused on, you know, carrot and stick, you're focused on reward. I think fitness will always be something that you tack on to the end of your day to achieve a purpose. And I think until people can make that shift to, you know, I exercise an hour a day so that I can stay skinny, to I exercise an hour a day because I'm the type of person who loves to exercise and get out and be social and do parkrun with friends. And once it becomes your lifestyle and it becomes part of your identity and who you are and what you identify as a fitness person, I think it's hard. I think you'll always go from like goal to goal, and you'll be very easy to derail when something like events get cancelled. Whereas like, I think, you know, both you and I, but for the most part, like definitely the events getting cancelled rocked me a little bit. But for the most part, it was just like, oh, well, I'm not training for Spartan Hawaii now. Let's do a fucking Ironman, or let's do this, or let's go back to kickboxing for a while, or let's practice my handstands for a while, or let's get my zoo mobility up. I think it just, you just go, oh, well, that goal's fucking gone. So what's the next thing? What's the thing we focus on now? And I think it's that transition that that's the important part. It's being able to adapt and be fluid. If anyone's watching, I'd love to hear your thoughts on sort of what we've said so far. Can you think of anything else to add on this, Mick?
No, that's exactly what you said. It's really cool how you started talking about the better of life and focusing on little elements of performance for yourself when the events got cancelled. And that's what I think people really need to like. I mean, I remember one year where we were Spartan race didn't have enough medals and some people had to get them mailed out. So it's like, what happens if there is no medals anymore? Would you still want to go and race that course? Would you still like to jump around?
Yeah.
And those are the things that'll get you through.
He's like, if there were no medals, if there were no shirts, if you couldn't post on social media, would you still turn up and do it? You there, buddy?
Yeah. But yeah, it's just as long as you can make that change, is start pulling those little elements out of it. It's still great to do them and get those presents from them. But
we're on a terrible line today, Mick. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, buddy. We're on a terrible internet connection today. I don't know what's happening. But I think from talking about breaking a goal down into its individual parts, that's something that you guys can do as a very easy way. So if you're training for a Spartan and the Spartan gets cancelled, you can now shift to a few smaller goals, which is I want to get my 10K time to under an hour. I want to be able to do 10 pull-ups unbroken. I want to be able to do a 2-minute dead hang. I want to be able to do, and think of a couple of metrics that are going to help you towards your overall goal. And yeah, Dom's saying Strava, Garmin posted the same thing. So remember when Garmin went down, people lost their minds. And yeah, it's exactly that. Like, because a lot of people are doing this shit for status. A lot of people are doing this for the social recognition of doing it, instead of the joy of fucking doing it. And yes, the social recognition comes, the status comes, the medals and the shirts and being able to post shit on Medal Monday. I think that's part of not only just having that status, but belonging to a tribe where that is the thing that is done. And that's sort of a social fucking right that happens. But yeah, breaking goals down into smaller chunks is a really good way to keep yourself on track if your larger goals are taken away. Mick, I've got to run a fairly short episode today because I've got to be on my my client my reset yoga at 4:00, which is about 10 minutes. But is there anything you want to finish on today? Anything you want to summarize?
No, I think I've talked it all well. Just guys, when you're thinking about your goals, break them down and see what the elements are that are reason for it. That'll really make it so you can't be stopped.
Yeah. And thank you for telling a little bit of your story today, Mick. I knew a little bits of it. I didn't know the extent of it. So that was good. And I'm sure everyone enjoyed hearing that and hearing you. That's a fucking pretty incredible story, man. 56 kilos in 6 months is fucking mental. And Andrew's saying races are never about medals. Receiving a medal is just about affirmation that you've completed your race. Man, I would disagree, man. I think medals and t-shirts are a fucking fantastic way to get people into this sport. I think getting them to stick around, it's got to transcend the medals. So I think it starts extrinsic always. But it's sort of our job as coaches to take them from the extrinsic and take them to the point where it's now lifestyle. And you're training so that you can be a better human. That's what our job is. But yeah, Natasha's saying thank you. Yeah. So love you.
Have you done your burpees yet from the Spartan group?
Right. No, I haven't yet. Thanks all you fucks who voted for me. Thank you. Um,
I'm lucky.
no,
Only two people voted for me. Everyone's too
well,
scared to make me do it.
it's going to be fucking 3 now because I'm going to go and vote. Um, no, I've got to do a workout after yoga, so I'll do them out on the Esplanade at Surface Paradise. I might do some burpees. But all right, got to run, guys. Catch us later.